Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, SOCE, Master of Science, Food Nutrition, MSCDFSM, revised. Second year. MFN 004 Advanced Nutrition. Unit-14 Infants and Preschool Children. 14.1 Introduction. In this unit, we will be studying about one of the crucial phase of human growth and development, i.e., infancy to preschool years. This phase is extremely significant from a nutritional point of view as during this stage, the vulnerability for various diseases increases, hence emphasizing the role of proper nutrition and care from the parents or caregivers. Undeniably, the most interesting, innovative and challenging phase in human feeding is meeting nutritional needs of infants and children, both qualitatively and quantitatively. The caretaker or the parent has to be imaginative, patient, interesting and devote undivided attention in feeding this age group. This period helps to build lifelong behavioral food habits and physiological growth patterns. Hence, this stage is very critical and of utmost importance. We will find a detailed discussion on this critical period, including the nutritional needs and the dietary considerations for infants and children in this unit. Objectives. After studying this unit, you will be able to describe the physical and physiological changes that occur during growth from infancy to preschool years. Discuss the nutritional needs during infancy and preschool age. Explain the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding. Appreciate the need to introduce complementary feeding from 6 months onwards. Comment on the kind, quality and amount of complementary foods for young children and link it with the nutritional recommendations. Identify nutritionally adequate snack foods for preschool children and counsel parents and caregivers to take care of infants and preschoolers in health and disease. 14.2 Growth and Development. Infancy is a period of rapid growth. During the first year of life, the infant grows and develops far more rapidly than at any other time in life. This is accompanied by a number of important physiological changes. Let us get to know what these changes are. 4.2.1 Physiological changes. Let us briefly understand some of these changes as they bear important relationship to the care and development of infants. Some of these important changes can be briefly discussed under the following heads. Changes in physical development, changes in mental development. Changes in gastrointestinal system development of excretory system, changes in body composition. Changes in feeding behavior. Let us review each of these and begin our discussion with the changes in their physical growth and development. Changes in physical development. It seems that all infants do is to sleep and hardly feed. In spite of this observation, a well-fed and cared infant doubles its birth weight within 4 to 6 months of life and triples within the first year. The birth weight of a normal infant should be more than 2.5 kilograms. Average birth weight of Indian infants ranges from 2.7 to 2.9 kilograms. A well-nourished mother delivers baby weighing between 3.2 to 3.3 kilograms, which is comparable to NCHS standards. Similarly, infants typically increase their length by 50% in the first year. At birth, their length is 50 centimeters, which increases to 75 centimeters by the first year. It is imperative to monitor weight either by serially recording weight on growth charts or approximately at 200 g week in first 3 months, 150 g week from 4 to 6 months, 100 g week in 7 to 9 months and 50 g week till 1 year. Beyond the first year, growth of the child slows down. It takes 5 years more for the weight at 1 year to double. The child continues to gain height, but the rate is not constant. During the second year, the increase in height is 7 centimeters and in weight is 2.0 to 2.5 kilograms. During 3 to 6 years, the growth continues steadily. Have a look at Table 14.1. The annual gain in height is 6 to 7 centimeters and weight is 1.5 to 2.0 kilograms. Large variations are seen, as growth has no calendar and occurs in spurts. Table 14.1. Recommended body weights of children for Indian population. Look at the screen. During physical growth, the nutrient needs are high, and when any nutrient is limiting at a critical phase of growth and development, the growth of the body as a whole slows down or even stops. Flattening of weight for 3 to 4 months indicates a danger of developing malnutrition. Since the baby's head grows rapidly during fetal years and first year of life, by the time the child is 2 years old, the head circumference achieves nearly 2/3 of its final size. The brain grows faster around the time of the birth than at any other time of life. To accommodate this brain growth, the infant's head is larger in proportion to the rest of the body. After 18 to 24 months of age, the rest of the body eventually grows and head circumference to height ratio continues to fall. Changes in mental development. There is evidently an increase in the brain size. There is a rapid increase in the number of brain cells in the first 5 to 6 months after birth. Thereafter, the cell division declines but continues till the second year of age. By the age of 10 years, many children have a brain weight of an adult. The effect of nutrition on brain development and IQ are difficult to determine, and as the child starts going to school, this relationship is even more difficult to ascertain. Times changes in gastrointestinal tract. A full-term baby has the ability to digest simple proteins, carbohydrates, and emulsified fats. In first 3 to 4 months, the production of starch-splitting enzymes is not satisfactory. The usual yardstick to introduce starchy foods to infants is when their weight doubles, which, in most well-nourished population, is around 4 months of age. The disaccharidases, including lactase, are secreted adequately at birth. Some infants have inadequate lactase activity and can develop lactose intolerance. Milk protein intolerance is also seen in infants. You will learn more about this later in gut disorders. Times development of excretory system. The filtration rate of kidney is low, and infants find it difficult to eliminate high concentration of solutes. However, by the end of the first year, the functional capacity of the kidneys becomes fully developed. Changes in body composition. The weight gain comprise of growth in the muscle, organ tissue, adipose and skeletal structure. One compartment of body which registers fall is body water. The infant at birth has 75% body water, which declines to 60% of the weight by the end of first year. This value is closer to that of an adult. However, there is a tremendous increase in absolute amount of water. Hence, depletion of water due to conditions like vomiting or diarrhea can prove to be fatal in infants. The infants synthesize lean tissue, hence there is an increase in body nitrogen from 2% at birth to 3% at first year. The skeletal system continues to gradually increase till adolescence. The infant is born with 12 to 15% body fat. This rises to 23% at 12 months and declines to 18% at 6 years of age. Hence, there is a net increase in body fat also. Let us now see how these changes can ultimately lead to changes in the feeding behavior of the infants. Changes in feeding behavior. On maturation of neuromuscular system, the body is able to coordinate sucking, swallowing, and breathing. Till about 3 months, the baby moves tongue up and down, and if a solid food is placed on the tongue, the food is pushed out, extrusion reflex. Between 3 to 4 months, the tongue movement changes and the child is able to swallow. By 6 months, the baby is able to chew. The psychosocial changes determine the feeding pattern. An infant identifies with his mother, but a preschooler develops a sense of individuality and imagination. Preschooler is in a period of sex identification, and hence boys imitate father and girls imitate mother. Hence, parents should inculcate and display healthy attitudes at mealtime. Having learnt about the physiological changes, let us next learn about the tool which can be used to monitor the growth of the child, i.e. growth monitoring. 4.2.2 Growth monitoring. In third world countries, about half the children are short and underweight for their age. Inadequate nutrient intake is the main reason. Inadequate nutrient intakes occur due to a number of causes. Although breastfeeding is universal in India, many mothers do not exclusively breastfeed their infants during the first 6 months. Introduction of foods other than breast milk earlier than 6 months of age, often prepared under not very satisfactory hygienic conditions, causes diarrhea and malnutrition in the children. Introduction of appropriate complementary foods in adequate amounts is often delayed to 1 year and beyond. As amount of breast milk secreted reduces after 6 months of lactation, sole reliance on breast milk beyond this period is inadequate and the child develops malnutrition. Growth monitoring is a tool that helps to identify growth faltering at an early stage and helps to institute corrective measures so that malnutrition can be avoided. What is growth monitoring? In growth monitoring, weight is plotted against age accurately on the growth chart. Refer to Figure 14.1, which is a growth chart used in a health center. Growth charts are available with all pediatricians, health workers, Anganwadi worker and health centers. The growth chart depicts vaccination schedule, birth history, general guidelines, disease history and 1-year weight record with guidelines of infant feeding, as you may have noticed in Figure 14.1. These growth charts are recommended to regularly record weight, height, etc. till 6 years of age. Figure 14.1, the growth chart. Look at the screen. Interpretation of growth charts is very important for any health and nutrition professional. The upward curve indicates weight gain while flat curve indicates no weight gain. The downward curve indicates weight loss and is not desirable. Let us understand the concept of growth curves and how to interpret them with the help of an example. Refer to Figure 14.2, which depicts the growth pattern, A and B, of 2 infants. From the growth pattern depicted in Figure 14.2, the growth of a child who is born on lower line of normal weight following trajectory A is most suitable. Why? Because this upward moving curve indicates weight gain. The child following trajectory B, on the other hand, indicates growth faltering as the child has deviated from his/her own path. It is important to understand here that every infant should maintain his own growth pattern. As every infant has different birth weight, no weight per se is an indicator of adequate growth. If the child does not maintain that pattern, as indicative in trajectory B, the health worker should investigate medical or nutritional problem impeding the predicted growth. Figure 14.2, the growth curve. Look at the screen. As part of the Integrated Child Development Scheme, ICDS, the Anganwadi worker maintains this record of every child and also indicates date of immunization and disease history. Among well-to-do mothers, such cards are handed over to the mother during their postnatal clinics or at the time of discharge after delivery from the health centers' hospitals. Besides identifying growth faltering, growth charts also provide the following information. 1. The growth is considered normal or satisfactory if the curve falls above the topmost line indicating 80% of the ideal weight for age. Refer to Figure 14.1. 2. The growth curve falling between lines indicating 1 and 2, in Figure 14.1, shows that body weight is 71 to 80% of the ideal. This indicates IST degree malnutrition. 3. The curve falling between second and third line shows 61 to 70% of the ideal body weight. This indicates second-degree malnutrition. 4. The curve falling between third and fourth line shows 50 to 60% of the ideal body weight. This indicates third-degree malnutrition. 5. The curve falling below fourth line shows body weight to be below 50% of the ideal indicates fourth-degree malnutrition. The weight and height is compared with those of well-to-do Indian children as given in Table 14.1. It takes 1 to 3 years for an infant to establish his own genetic growth pattern. Once this figure is established, such as height forage or weight forage, the child's measurements should then track along the curve. The first 3 years are crucial as malnutrition is most common and severe during this stage. Height forage is a measure of achieved linear growth that can be used as an index of past nutritional status. Low height for age is termed as stunting. In populations with a high prevalence of stunting, length forage at 3 months can be used to screen children at risk for stunting by 3 years. Identification of such children is important because stunting during childhood, as you may recall studying in Unit 2, results in a reduction in adult size, which, in turn, has been associated with reduced work capacity and, in women, adverse reproductive outcome. Stunting results from extended periods of inadequate food intake, poor dietary quality, increased infections and morbidity, or a combination of these factors. It is, therefore, important to prevent infections by maintaining utmost level of hygiene and sanitation and proper immunization status. Growth monitoring and health monitoring, therefore, go hand in hand. Let us get to know about health monitoring next. 4.2.3 Health monitoring. Table 14.2 Immunization schedule. Vaccine and when to give. For infants, BCG at birth or as early as possible till 1 year of age. Hepatitis B birth does. At birth or as early as possible within 24 hours. OPV0 as birth or as early as possible within the first 15 days. OPV1, 2 and 3 at 6 weeks, 10 weeks and 14 weeks. OPV can be given till 5 years of age. Pentavalent 1, 2 and 3 at 6 weeks, 10 weeks and 14 weeks can be given till 1 year of age. Rotavirus at 6 weeks, 10 weeks and 14 weeks can be given till 1 year of age. IPV to fractional dose at 6 and 14 weeks of age. Measles Mr. First dose, 9 completed month 12 months, can be given till 5 years of age. J1, 9 completed months 12 months. Vitamin A, 1 dose, at 9 completed months with measles rubella. For children, DPT booster 1, 16 to 24 months. Measles MR second dose, 16 to 24 months. OPV booster, 16 to 24 months. J2, 16 to 24 months. Vitamin A, second to 9th dose, 16 to 18 months. Then 1 dose every 6 months up to the age of 5 years. DPT booster 2, 5 to 6 years. TT, 10 years, 16 years. Infections are a major cause of malnutrition in children. For many of the preventable early childhood diseases, vaccines are now available so that these diseases of early childhood can be prevented, providing a better opportunity for normal growth. These are referred as childhood immunizations, the schedule of which is given below. This schedule must be adhered to strictly. Table 14.2 highlights the immunization schedule for infants and children. Malnutrition, high infection rate, incomplete immunization and poor diarrhea management are major cause of high infant mortality rate, IMR, and under 5 mortality rate. Use of ORS and ensuring complete immunization schedule has been able to considerably reduce mortality rate. With this, we end our discussion on the physiological changes occurring during the period of infancy and the concept of growth monitoring. Let us move on to nutrient requirements for infants and preschoolers. 14.3 Nutrient needs and recommended dietary allowances. For infants and preschoolers, satisfactory growth is a sensitive criterion of whether needs are met. 50 percentile of NCHs or growth of infants and children from well-to-do families are acceptable Indian norms. The level of intake, which ensures these growth profiles, determines their requirements. Let us briefly ascertain some nutrient needs and derive guidelines of how the RDA will be met satisfactorily. The nutritional requirements of infants are largely met by exclusive breastfeeding till 6 months, after which it is imperative to introduce complementary feeding. Let us begin with energy requirements. Energy requirements of infants are based on the energy intake through breast milk by infants of well-nourished mothers. Based on an average intake of breast milk day by infants of the well-nourished mothers, ICMR 2010 has recommended the energy allowances for infants as given in Table 14.3. Age, months. Table 14.3, Energy requirements of infants, Cuckold D. FAO WHO UNU 2004 has given the energy requirements for needs of breastfed and formula-fed infants. Total energy expenditure, T, is calculated with predictive linear equation as follows. Breastfed T, mj day, is equal to 0.635 plus 0.388 kg, N is equal to 195, R is equal to 0.87, C 0.453 mj day, 108 Cuckold day. T, Cuckold day. Formula fed 152.092.8 kilograms. T, mj day, is equal to 0.122 plus 0.346 kg, N is equal to 125, R is equal to 0.85, C is equal to 0.463 mj day, 110 Cuckold day. T, Cuckold day, is equal to 29.0 plus 82.6 kilograms. The energy demand for growth constitutes up to 35% of T at 0 to 3 months and 17.5% at 3 to 6 months. The growth requirement should be added to T to give total energy requirement, as you may recall studying in Unit 2 on energy requirements. Compared with earlier recommendations, FAO WHO UNU 1985, present values are about 12% lower in first 3 months of life, 17% lower from 3 to 9 months and 20% lower from 9 to 12 months. For preschoolers, 1 to 6 years, the energy requirements by ICMR 2010 is laid in 2 age categories, i.e. 1 to 3 years and 4 to 6 years. As per the guidelines laid by the FAO WHO UNU Expert Consultation, 1985, the energy needs of children are computed from energy needs per kg body weight. The body weight of well-to-do children is used for this computation. Table 14.4 reflects the energy requirement of boys and girls who are healthy, have attained the 95th percentile of weight for age and have moderate activity level. Table 14.4, Energy requirement and PAL of Indian children and adolescents, boys. Look at the screen. The FAO WHO UNU 2004 recommendation for energy for children aged to 6 years has already been discussed earlier in Unit 2 on energy requirements. We suggest you look up subsection 2.6.2 now for a brief review of these requirements. Protein allowances of infants should meet both growth and maintenance requirements. Protein allowances are computed from the protein content of breast milk and the volume of milk consumed by healthy infants growing normally. In case of infants beyond 6 months, breast milk alone cannot satisfy protein needs. Supplementary food has to be introduced, consisting of a source of good quality protein like milk and milk products, cereal and pulse combinations, flesh foods i.e. fish, chicken, etc. Hence, protein allowances for infants between 6 to 12 months are in terms of both milk protein and vegetable protein, each contributing almost equally to the total protein intake. For preschoolers, the protein requirements of children of various age groups are computed by the factorial method as employed by FAO WHO UNU Expert Consultation, 1985. The factorial value is increased by 50% to obtain the physiological requirements for growth, and further 25%, mean plus 2 ST, has been added to give the safe levels of intake. The RDA of protein additionally considers a NPU value of 65 for dietary proteins. Body weights of well-to-do Indian children have been used for computing their protein intakes. Long-term nitrogen balance studies have supported the values obtained by this factorial method. The RDA for proteins, along with other nutrients, is given in Table 14.6. Table 14.6 recommended dietary allowances of various nutrients for children. Look at the screen.
Adequately breastfed infants receive nearly 30 grams fat per day, of which 10% is linoleic acid and 1% is linolenic acid. Breast milk thus suffices the needs of EFA for infants, which is about 6%. Human breast milk is superior to other milk for its long-chain N6 and N3 PUFA content that are biologically more potent. Infants and children up to age of 2 years should consume about 40% energy from fat, i.e., 40%. Fat is an important part of the infant's diet because of its energy density and has a vital role in the development of the nervous system. Fat resolves a potential problem of infants' high energy needs and small gastric capacity. The linoleic acid requirement of preschoolers is 3%, which can be satisfied by a minimal intake of 10 grams/d of visible fat. However, more fat is needed to decrease the bulky cereal-based diets, hence up to 25 grams/d of visible fat can be given. Total fat content of the diet increases due to the invisible fat present in milk, nuts, cereals and pulses. Calcium. The calcium requirements of young infants are computed from the calcium content of breast milk and volume of breast milk intake. Up to 6 months of life, 300 mg calcium intake is adequate. ICMR, 2020, recommends 1,200 mg of calcium, refer to Table 14.7, daily during the entire period of infancy. Calcium requirements in preschoolers are calculated on the basis of amount of calcium accretion during growth. There is no definite data on Indian children, as well as the extent of absorption. The preschoolers are recommended 500 and 550 mg by ICMR, 2020, refer to Table 14.6, which was adopted from figures from FAO/WHO. Phosphorus requirements are linked to the calcium intake, and the requirements of both these minerals are almost equal. Table 14.7, recommended dietary allowance of various nutrients for infants. Look at the screen. However, in all age groups, Ca/P ratio should be 1:1 except infancy when 1:1.5 is recommended. Age groups is 14 mg kg body weight. For infants. Iron, the maintenance needs for all age groups is 14 micrograms/kg body weight. For infants and preschoolers, iron needs for growth and expansion of blood volume should be added. In first 2 weeks of life, the hemoglobin falls to a normal level of 11 to 12 grams/dl from 17 to 23 grams/dl at birth. The iron is redistributed in the first month of infancy, hence breast milk alone meets iron needs of infants. Although iron in breast milk is low, it is very well absorbed. Iron-fortified complementary foods are important in maintaining the iron status of infants, especially in situations where additional iron-rich foods are not offered to the infant after 6 months of age. Breast milk may not be a rich source of iron, but its iron has better bioavailability and meet the need of exclusively breastfed infants up to 6 months. Losses of iron in infants and its turnover are not precisely known, hence it is difficult to ascertain infant needs. ICMR, 2020, has suggested iron allowances for infants. It is estimated that infants can use greater than 50% of the iron in breast milk, and healthy fill-term infants are iron with a supply of iron that lasts for 4 to 6 months, considering the breast milk intake to be around 817 milliliters during this period with iron content of 0.78 mg/L. The iron intake per day is about 0.47 mg/D. During this period small changes occurs in storage iron and hemoglobin levels. Thus, a full-term infant of 3.2 kilograms body weight needs only 0.23 mg/D to maintain his/her hemoglobin at the normal concentration of 110 grams/1. Let us move on to the requirements of both classes of vitamins, fat-soluble and water-soluble. We shall begin with vitamin A. Vitamin A, on the basis of vitamin A ingested by breastfed infants in well-nourished communities, ICMR, 2020, has recommended a daily allowance of 350 micrograms of retinol up to 6 months of age, Table 14.7. In the absence of specific data on infants of 6-12 months, the same level of retinol has been recommended. In preschoolers, 390 micrograms/D above 510 micrograms/D has been recommended for 1 to 3 years and 4 to 6 years respectively, ICMR 2020, Table 14.6, from interpolation data, taking into account the growth rates at different ages and that infants require 60 micrograms/kg while by adulthood, the requirements are 15 micrograms/kg BW. Indian infants receive about 140 micrograms/D during first 6 months of age, and if they draw their liver stores to meet their needs and continue on low vitamin A supplementary foods and diet in preschool years, they will show frank vitamin A deficiency. Vitamin A deficiency is a public health problem in preschoolers. Megadose prophylaxis is given during infancy and early preschool age, up to 3 years, to prevent vitamin A deficiency in the preschool children in India. However, vitamin A requirements can be easily met by incorporating carotene and retinol-rich food sources in the diet of young children.
Other fat-soluble vitamins. ICMR 2020 does not give recommendations for vitamins E and K. As you already know, vitamin D is expected to be met by sunlight exposure. Up to 600 IUD of vitamin D should be ensured for optimal skeletal growth and dentition. Vitamin K shots are recommended only in premature infants or infants born after a complicated delivery. This is to combat primarily physiologic deficiency of vitamin K in the first few days of infancy. Vitamin E intake is related to PUFA intake and is of little significance during infancy. Next, we shall have a look at the water-soluble vitamins. Water-soluble vitamins. Thiamine, riboflavin and niacin requirements are met through breast milk alone, and solely breastfed infants meet their requirements. Table 14.7 gives their requirements in per kg body weight, BW, basis. ICMR 2020 recommends thiamine at 0.3 mg 1000 kcal in infants. Riboflavin can be calculated at 0.6 mg 1000 kcal and niacin 5 mg. Levels of vitamin B6, pyridoxine, in breast milk are not adequate, and infant may draw upon their stores initially. ICMR 2010 has based its recommendations on the levels of pyridoxine in breast milk of Western mother. ICMR 2020 recommends 25 micrograms of folate for 0 to 6 meters and 85 micrograms of folate for 6-12 m infants, and 110 micrograms 1 to 3 years and 135 micrograms 4 to 6 years for preschoolers by interpolation data, Table 14.6. Similarly, it recommends 1.2 microgram of vitamin B12 for infants for normal hemopoiesis. Usual breast milk content of B12, 0.05 microgram, does not meet infant needs. Vitamin B12 requirements of infants is 1.2 microgram, and for children aged 1 to 6 years the RDA is 1.2 micrograms per day. ICMR 2020 recommends 20 to 27 milligrams of vitamin C in breastfed infants, whereas preschoolers are recommended to take 27 to 32 mgd due to its beneficial effect on absorption of non-heme iron. Next, we move on to the requirements of trace elements. Trace elements. Most elements, such as zinc and iodine, hold a major significance in infant nutrition. Zinc is associated with growth while iodine with the brain growth and development. Their significance starts since conception in the mother and should be adequately provided. In children of 1 to 3 years, the zinc requirement is 3 mg per day and iodine is 90 mg/kg, ICMR 2020. With this, we come to an end of nutrient requirements of infants. Let us now move on to the next section on diet and feeding patterns. 14.4 Diet and feeding patterns. In this section, we will learn about diet and feeding patterns of infants and the preschoolers. The discussion has been subdivided into 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and preschoolers, keeping in mind their age-specific requirements for various nutrients. It is well accepted that breast milk is best food for an infant. It is nature's provision to satisfy the needs of the infant for growth and development, including emotional development. Even a poorest mother is able to nurse her child satisfactorily, at least during the first few months. WHO recommends a normal mother to exclusively breastfeed till 6 months of age. 4.4.1 Feeding 0 to 6 months infant. The term exclusive breastfeeding is used when all fluids, energy, and nutrients are provided by breast milk, with the possible exception of small amount of medicinal supplements. Exclusive breastfeeding means that not even water is given. Breast milk provides enough water even for the hot summer months. If water supplements are given, they may prove harmful as it may be unhygienic, as well as reduce sucking of the breast, which may diminish breast milk output. Sucking is an important reflex for milk release and ensures adequate production, as you may recall studying earlier in Unit 13. Several advantages of breast milk have been established. Let us briefly enlist them. Advantages of breast milk. 1. Breast milk is a simple and natural method of feeding. It is hygienic, inexpensive, and available at all times at the right temperature for the baby. Mother need not worry about how much milk the baby needs as long as the baby feels satisfied and is growing well. Exclusive breastfeeding till 6 months ensures normal growth and development. 2. Nutritionally, breast milk has an advantage of being low in protein and high in lactose content than any other milk, which the body can handle. Human milk has a protein lactalbumin, which is better digested than casein present in high amounts in cow's milk. Human milk has more vitamin C and is not destroyed by heating as in cow's milk. Iron and calcium is better available as compared to cow's milk. 3. Colostrum is rich in nutrients and anti-infective factors. Colostrum is secreted in first 2 to 3 days. It is a thick and yellowish liquid. It develops natural immunity in the child against various infections. Besides antibodies, it is rich in nutrients and hence should never be discarded. In addition, it has a laxative effect and tones gut for movement. 4. Diseases and death among breastfed infants is much lower than the formula-fed infants. Breastfeeding protects against diseases such as diarrhea and upper respiratory tract infections. The bifidus factor in breast milk promotes natural gut flora. This gut flora and low pH of breast milk inhibits the growth of pathogens. Breast milk has immunoglobulins, IgA, lactoferrin, lactoperoxidase and complements, which protect the infant against several infections. Antibodies to E. coli and some viruses are found in breast milk, which protects their gut mucosa. Breastfeeding also protects infants from allergic reactions and colitis. 5. Cow's milk contains lactoglobulin and serum bovine albumin, which may cause allergy to some infants. 6. Breastfeeding establishes mother-infant contact and promotes mother-child bonding. While the mother gets feeling of satisfaction and achievement in carrying and feeding her baby, it gives an emotional security to the infant. 7. It prolongs birth interval by fertility control. Lactational amenorrhea prevents onset of another pregnancy, thus helping in natural spacing. This time gap helps uterus to contract to normal size and regain normal shape. The fat laid down during pregnancy is mobilized and utilized during lactation. Breastfeeding also protects against breast cancer. 8. In addition to nutrients and anti-infective factors, breast milk has special components such as growth factors, enzymes and hormones. Many essential components are in concentrated amounts in colostrum as compared to mature milk, hence lactation within 2 hours of birth should be initiated. India has a national code for protection and promotion of breastfeeding. The basic guidelines are highlighted next. Guidelines for breastfeeding. 1. Follow demand feeding of the baby instead of a fixed schedule. 2. Initiate breastfeeding within 2 hours after a normal delivery and 4 to 6 hours after a cesarean delivery. 3. Avoid honey, glucose and water supplements, dilute milk formula, as these could be sources of infection and impede sucking reflex of baby. 4. Mother herself should avoid tobacco, alcohol and consumption of drugs during lactation. 5. Mother should not breastfeed in case of breast abscess, cracked nipples, fevers, serious diseases, anemia, tuberculosis, etc. However, in HIV/AIDS, the mother is recommended to breastfeed even though she transmits the disease. HIV/AIDS baby is medicated and needs medical attention. On the other hand, if baby is not breastfed, morbidity and mortality is high in these infants. 6. Mother should maintain utmost hygiene, especially of breast, nipples and handling baby while feeding. She should nourish herself well with iron, calcium and vitamins A and B complex supplements as their levels improve in her milk. 7. Mother should maintain a correct posture, alveolar position and breathing space while breastfeeding. 8. Infants should be exclusively breastfed till 6 months of age. Breastfeeding can continue till 1 to 2 years, but complementary foods should start by 6 months, especially to meet iron needs and energy needs for rapid growth needs. 9. Complete immunization should be reinforced even if the child has fever, restlessness, etc. After immunization, breastfeeding should continue. Breastfeeding should also continue even if there is diarrhea. 10. Breastfeeding must be continued essentially up to 2 years. Sometimes exclusive breastfeeding cannot be sustained. Working mothers join their duty in the 4th month and exclusively breastfeeding stops. Although infant needs of almost all nutrients is met from breast milk alone, but in absence of breast milk, other milk can be given. Giving undiluted, homogenized, pasteurized, toned milk that has been boiled at home is a relatively inexpensive option. Buffalo's milk can be given by initially diluting in the ratio of 2:1. The alternate caregivers may over-dilute the milk, which can cause undernutrition. The usual challenge in alternate milk is water quality, hygiene and handling, and milk allergies. Cow milk has been well documented for causing allergies worldwide. Heat-treated milk formulae have shown better tolerance but are expensive, and their overdilution is a major cause of malnutrition. Nutrient composition of different milk is given in Table 14.8. Look at the screen. Whenever the baby is fed on animal milk, supplements of iron and vitamin C should be provided. Animal milk does not have this in adequate amount. Heat-treated milk formulae may be fortified. In many cases, if the infants have doubled their birth weight, solid foods which are cereal-based and supplemented with vitamin C or iron are introduced around 6 months. The usual cereal is rice, which is known to be least allergic. Needless to say that weaning off breast around 6 months is driven more due to circumstances than need of the infant. Thus, the period during which other foods or liquids are provided along with breast milk is considered the period of complementary feeding. Any nutrient-containing foods or liquids other than breast milk given to young children during the period of complementary feeding are defined as complementary foods. Here we would like to emphasize that the infant needs to be preferably fed with sterile, katori, and spoon instead of bottle feeding, which causes nipple confusion. Further, maintaining sterile, hygienic bottle and teats is more difficult than katori. Due to nipple confusion, the infant does not accept effortful sucking from the breast. Hence, on introduction of bottle feeding, the breast milk production gradually falls. It is important for mothers to continue breastfeeding as long as possible. 4.4.2 Feeding 6 to 12 months infant. As the infant grows older, mother's milk alone is not sufficient to meet his increasing needs. This could be seen in few infants between 4 to 6 months by the downward slope in the growth curve. Especially if for some reason, mother's milk is insufficient, the infant is then weaned. Weaning is a process of gradually introducing foods other than breast milk. Weaning foods are those foods which are used during the gradual transition of the infant from breastfeeding to a normal diet. It may start with the introduction of other milk, but the best option is to continue breast milk and give other solid foods in liquid and semi-solid consistency. The introduction of complementary foods, weaning foods, ensures fulfillment of nutritional requirements and gradually introduces the child to family eating pattern. By the time the child is 1 year old, he should get used to eating the normal family diet. See box 14.1 for the amounts to be given to an infant. The supplementary foods, which can be given to the child from time to time, are given in table 14.9. Read the information presented in box 14.1 carefully. You will find information related to balanced diet for infants. Box 14.1 Balanced diet for infants. The infants 6 to 12 months can eat in a day's diet 30 to 45 of cereal, 7.5 g pearls, 200 to 500 milliliters of animal milk. If breastfed, then 200 milliliters top milk is recommended, 50 g roots and tubers, 25 g green leafy vegetables, 25 g other vegetables, 100 g fruit, 10 g sugar, 20 g fat. Adding extra fat in dal khichdi is a recommended practice to ensure 40% of fat for infants' growth and decreasing bulk in diet. Source: Nutrient Requirement and Recommended Dietary Allowances for Indians, ICMR, India, 2010. Next, some handy points related to infant feeding are highlighted. Points to be kept in mind. Times: introduce only one food at a time, giving only small. Increase variety slowly. Introduce all food groups. Give an extra dash of fat in 1 or 2 items. Do not use excessive fat, salt and sugar. Prepare bland and non-flavored items. Consistency should be gradually built from liquid to semi-solid and thin to solid. Particle size of gruels should be built gradually from homogenized khichdi to well mashed to a thick khichdi. To reduce consistency of bulky gruels, addition of amylase-rich flour, ARF, after cooling, the gruel has to be warm, decreases consistency and increases intake. Use of ARF and fat help to increase intake to meet energy and protein needs adequately. Quantity should be gradually increased. If the child dislikes or is disinterested, discontinue the food for some time and reintroduce later. Do not force feed. No food is indispensable or best. Parents should avoid personal prejudices, likes and dislikes in front of children. Rather, they should eat a variety of foods and encourage children to do the same. Identify intolerance and immediately discontinue. Cow's milk, egg white, soya bean, etc. are known to cause allergies. Cereals which cause least allergy are rice and the pulse which causes best tolerance is moong dal. Age. Avoid fiber. Whole legumes and raw vegetables with their high fiber content are foods recommended for adults but not for infants. Some complementary foods need special preparations such as ARF or mashed potato or banana. It is also possible to feed from family pot, for example rotis mashed in dals before spicing etc. Consistency is important, so sieving, mashing etc. may be recommended separately. Degree of cooking may be more for infant feeding. Due care should be given in handling and sanitation while feeding infants. Table 14.9 Complementary foods for infants. Look at the screen. Feeding schedule in infancy. 1. Milk feed 5 to 6 times day. Continue breastfeeding. Exclusive breastfeeding up to 6 months even during illness. Follow demand feeding. 2. 6 months. Start complementary feeding. Feed 3 to 4 times day. For example, porridge twice day, vegetable once day, fruit once day. 3. 6 to 9 months. Continue breastfeeding. Modify family pot. Feed 4-5 times day e.g. family diet twice day. Commercial premixes or homemade multi-grain mixes including amylase-rich foods, ARF, twice day, vegetable fruits once a day. 4. 9 to 12 months, continue breastfeeding, feed family food. Feed 5 to 6 times day e.g. family food twice day, instant mix twice day, fruits, vegetables once a day. 4.4.3 Feeding preschoolers. The word preschool children, you may be aware, is used for children less than 6 years of age. After the first year, there is a sustained growth in childhood, which is not as rapid as in infancy, yet the growth needs are high. Growth occurs in spurts, nevertheless, children should grow at 6 to 7 cm year in height and 1.5-3 kg year in weight. Further, the preschool years are characterized by increased physical activity. Physical activity, influences energy needs. Due to these physiological conditions, children during this period, in fact, are most susceptible to malnutrition. Situations that promote malnutrition also favor a high incidence of infectious diseases, which in turn further contribute to the malnutrition. For many children, under 5 and particularly those under 3 years of age who live in these conditions, being sick or convalescing from diarrhea or a respiratory infection is part of normal life because they experience this several times a year, with each episode lasting 2 to 15 days and requiring up to twice that time to achieve full recovery, provided that an intervening new episode of disease does not interrupt the recovery process. Infections of this nature often result in negative energy balance resulting from poor appetite, decreased absorption of nutrients during diarrheal episodes, and increased metabolic rate, particularly in febrile processes. This leads to chronic mild wasting, i.e., low weight for height, and stunting, i.e., low height forage, which may be prevented, ameliorated, or corrected if adequate care and food are available, especially in the periods between infectious episodes when appetite has been re-established. If, on the contrary, conditions do not improve, the status quo of mild malnutrition is maintained, the possibility for catch-up growth is reduced, and the consequences of malnutrition will continue. Thus, the preschool period is a challenging period in normal nutrition. Interestingly, this is also the time when eating habits get established among preschoolers. The family determines the feeding habits of children. Color, flavor, texture, shape, stories appeal to make food choice among children. Food preferences and total food intake fluctuates and change from time to time. Appetite is erratic. So then, considering these factors, how do we ensure proper nutrition and eating habits during these vulnerable years? Let us find out. A nutritionally adequate diet is essential for optimal growth and development. Children below the age of 5 years should be given less bulky foods, but rich in energy and protein, such as cereal pulse combinations, legumes, pulses, eggs, meat, etc. Vegetables, including green leafy vegetables and seasonal fruits, should be part of their daily menu. Care should be taken that ingredients from all food groups get included in child's diet as recommended by ICMR in Table 14.10. Table 14.10 Suggested Food Groups Intake G-Day. Look at the screen. Note, children 1 to 6 year consumes 2 to 4 the amount of cereals, pulses and vegetables as compared to sedentary woman but has an extra cup of milk. The other points to be kept in mind while feeding a preschooler are highlighted next. Points to keep in mind. 1. Do not force feed the child. 2. Children naturally eat a variety of foods. Their sensory-specific satiety ensures that they tire of even their own favorite food. 3. Change the form. If milk is disliked, make kheer, kulfi or custard. Cocoa and chocolate flavoring is not the best choice but can give variety. 4. Good quality proteins should be given to ensure growth. A mix of vegetable proteins is recommended in those who do not opt for flesh foods. Give less bulky foods but rich in energy and proteins. Pulses, nuts, milk and milk products and eggs are recommended. 5. Encourage child to eat all food groups. Encourage vegetables, green leafy vegetables, and fruit in any form in daily diet. 6. New foods should be introduced one at a time. Have a bite and taste is a good policy. They are mostly wary of any new food. 7. Snacks have a special place in preschoolers' diet. They are finger foods, easy to handle and eat independently. Care should be taken to make snacks, which are not fried and oily. Innovative methods of low-fat snacks preparation should be tried. This helps in preventing faulty food habits formed at this age. 8. Prevent inclusion of junk foods, which provide only energy. Too many sweets, biscuits, baked products like cakes and pastries, which have refined flour and sugar, can cause dental caries. 9. Avoid nibbling. Have a 5 to 6 meal pattern. Keep gap of 3 hours. And encourage physical activity and play to prevent obesity. 10. Tiffin to a preschooler needs special care and attention. Prefer simple meals, which are liked even if they are cold. They should be adequate in proteins, vitamins and minerals needed for growth, for example, pea paneer pulav, sprout upma, paneer patty, carrot burfi, etc. Select foods rich in vitamin A, iron, calcium and zinc. 11. Meals should be attractive and served with care and personal attention. 12. Fried food, highly spiced, and highly flavored foods are not liked. They are not eaten in adequate amount. Well-cooked, bland but interesting meals are appetizing. 13. Too much attention at mealtime only makes child resort to unfair means of achieving their ends. On the other hand, child left unattended but engrossed on a TV channel has no eating habit. Healthy mealtime environment of the family helps in good eating habits. 14. Parents' personal prejudices and dislikes should not affect child's feeding pattern. If caregivers dislike a food, it should still be given to the toddler. Caregivers' personal choices should not be thrusted upon the child. So that was an exhaustive list. Before we end our study here, we would like you to carry out an activity given next. This will help you in understanding the feeding of preschoolers better. Activity. Plan a tiffin for a preschoolers providing 1/4 day's requirement of energy, protein, vitamin, calcium and iron. 14.5 National Programs Targeting Infants and Preschoolers. Infants and preschoolers are the vulnerable sections of the society. To give them due coverage, some national programs are targeted towards them. These national initiatives are briefly outlined below. You may have already learnt about these initiatives in the Public Nutrition course, MFN 006. A. Integrated Child Development Scheme, ICDS. B. Vitamin A Deficiency, VAD. C. Immunization Program. D. National Nutritional Anemia Prophylaxis Program. These programs have the objective of bringing down under 5 mortality. Under Integrated Child Development Services, ICDS, preschoolers receive food supplements, nutrition, and immunization. Vitamin A deficiency, VAD, is a public health problem among preschoolers. Prophylactic dose of 1 lakh IU is given at 9 months along with measles vaccine, and then 2 lakh IUs are given at 18 months and thrice at 6 monthly intervals till 36 months of age, i.e. at 18, 24, 30 and 36 months of age. This activity is supported by UNICEF, and for better coverage, it has been linked to ICDS and Universal Child Immunization Program. National Nutritional Anemia Prophylaxis Program addresses iron and folate deficiency anemia, IDA. Preschoolers receive 20 mg Fe and 100 micrograms folate daily. Deworming of preschoolers is advised. Preschool children have been one of the target groups to receive IFA tablets under National Anemia Prophylaxis Program. Both access and intake of IFA tablets by children have been poor, and there had been a very little impact on the reduction of anemia in childhood. The objective even in 12th plan is that infant is born with adequate weight and nutrient store. If iron folate tablets, 1 tablet a day containing 100 mg elemental Fe and 500 mg folate, are given to pregnant and lactating women for 100 days. Further, it also helps mothers not to become anemic. The diarrheal management strategies have had a major impact on less than 5 mortality rate. The distribution of ORS packets and necessary advice at health centers has made diarrheal management more effective. The Anganwadi workers also store iron folate tablets and ORS packets for distribution as and when required in villages. Mothers are counseled that the infants should continue to receive breastfeeding, and older children should not go on starvation therapy during diarrheal episode. Rehydration therapy through homemade beverages and rehydration fluid is taught. Hygiene and principles of sanitation are reinforced for complete management. In 2017, National Nutrition Mission Poshan Abhiyan has been announced to bring about a rapid reduction in undernutrition, elimination of micronutrient deficiency with iron, and reduction in low birth weight rates. Utilizing PMGY funds, BPL families can take home food supplements for children 6 to 36 months of age from the Anganwadi. Nutrition education by Anganwadi workers and ANMs are promoted. The goal is to bring down the prevalence of low birth weight, anemia, and undernutrition by 3%, 2%, and 2% per annum respectively by 2022. Next, let us get to know about the problems of infant and preschoolers' nutrition. 14.6 Problems of infants and preschoolers' nutrition. In spite of all nutrition interventions, there are some of the common yet life-threatening problems which need to be looked at. So let us begin our discussion on these, starting with the diarrheal diseases. Times diarrhea. We have just covered control and strategies in diarrhea management in the above section. Crowling, unclean hands, improper self-cleanliness, teething and playing in mud are usual causes of a diarrheal episode. Electrolyte and fluid replacement therapy goes a long way in speedy recovery. Diarrhea due to lactose intolerance or milk protein allergies may require switching to soy-based or lactose-free formulae. During diarrhea, breastfeeding should continue. You will cover management of lactose intolerance and milk protein allergy in chapters of therapeutic nutrition. Let us understand how birth weight of an infant acts as one of the predisposing factors leading to various diseases. Low birth weight infants, LBW. One-third of the babies born in India are of low birth weight, less than 2.5 kilograms. A LBW infant has an inadequate mineralized skeleton, poorly developed muscles, low iron stores and metabolic inability like insulin resistance, poor fat oxidation and low metabolic rate. As age advances and there is catch-up or rapid weight gain, there are high chances of obesity and diabetes. This partly explains 3 times higher risk to CHD among Indians. It is, therefore, crucial to ensure proper care and nutrition for these infants to help them stay on their optimal course of growth. Measures would include keeping the babies warm, feeding colostrums, breastfeeding exclusively for the first 6 months, and providing iron supplementation, liquid iron, as these infants have poor iron stores at birth. Additionally, all immunizations must be given on time. Times undernutrition, chronic energy deficiency, CED. This is a major problem in India. Undernutrition, you may recall reading earlier in Unit 2, is caused by a less than adequate intake of nutrients, most of which are related to energy intake. This has led to the term chronic energy deficiency. The common way to think of undernutrition is in terms of body weight and height. The consequences of an inadequate energy intake is reduced body size. Stunting, we learned, results from extended period of inadequate food intake, poor dietary quality, increased morbidity or a combination of these factors. The prevalence of stunting, i.e., low stature for age, is generally highest during the second and third year of life. Stunting during childhood has serious implications. It results in reduction in adult size, which in turn has been associated with reduced work capacity and in women, adverse reproductive outcome. It is alarming to note that most of the deficit in height that occurs as an adult has already taken place during the first 2 years and it remains largely irreversible during the rest of the lifetime. Considering these ill effects, National Nutrition Mission was set to reduce undernutrition, CED, and reduce or eliminate micronutrient deficiencies. The mission would coordinate the national nutrition policy to strengthen the existing programs, research and development, natural calamities. The strategies suggested are 1. Nutrition education through all modes, especially by Anganwadi workers and ANMS to promote universal breastfeeding and exclusively, for example, Montes, which can continue till 24. Introduction of semisolids from family pot at 6 months and giving complementary more food to preschool children, pregnant and lactating women at least 2 times a week. 2. Take-home food supplements for 6 to 36 months from Anganwadi. 3. Vitamin A prophylaxis dose at 18, 24, 30 and 36 months by Anganwadi workers and ANMS. 4. Organize immunization on a fixed date at least once a month. 5. Anganwadi workers can also keep IFA tablets and ORS packets. 6. Promote universal use of iodized salt. 7. All 0 to 6 years to be weighed 4 times in a year and grade 3 and 4 are identified to get double ratios as take-home food supplements. 8. Weigh all pregnant and lactating women and identify those who less than 40 kilograms and provide them with food grains. 9. Weigh all adolescent girls at least 4 times a year and those weigh less than 35 kilograms to get food grains. 10. Organize child health clinics at Anganwadi to screen for anemia, vitamin A deficiency and iodine deficiency. Overnutrition, obesity. Reducing diet. The signs of obesity are least if an infant is never put on a reducing diet. The chances of obesity are least if an infant is exclusively breastfed till 6 months. In 6 to 12 months, excessive feeding of fat and sugars can lead to an upward shift of growth curve, and if it overshoots the normal, only visible fat and sugar intake needs to be controlled. In infancy, diets with 40% are recommended. Low-fat diets, 30% to preschoolers has been recommended in fear of early onset of heart diseases. However, there is no such evidence that normal weight preschoolers should reduce their fat intake in order to prevent heart disease. If there is a family history of dyslipidemias or heart diseases, children should be screened and treated accordingly. There is no advantage in recommending low-fat diets to all in order to prevent heart diseases. By 2 years of age, fat intake should not exceed 30% and contribution of saturated fats should not be more than 10%. This is in accordance with the adult diets. Consistent moderation is the best strategy instead of restricted diet, as fat is needed for growth and development of organs and brain. High fat, fried foods, creamy desserts, empty calories should definitely be discontinued to prevent obesity. Childhood obesity tracks into adulthood, but obesity in infancy and adulthood are not particularly related. Vegetarianism. Protein quality of the vegetarian diets can be improved by proper diet planning. However, under free living conditions, vegetarianism can limit protein intake of good biological value, iron, B12, calcium, and zinc intake. Vitamin D can be met by sunlight exposure. Vegetarianism per se leads to bulky diets. Special care and meal planning is needed to meet the needs of these nutrients adequately. Infants of HIV/AIDS mothers. It is recommended to continue breastfeeding even if the disease will continue to be transmitted. If these infants are not breastfed, they will have a high morbidity and mortality. They, however, need specific medication and medical supervision. Nutrient deficiency disorders. Protein energy malnutrition, PEM, iron deficiency anemia, IDA, and vitamin A deficiency, VAD, are still the major public health problems affecting large number of preschoolers in our country. We have already described these conditions in the Public Nutrition course, MFN 006, in Unit 3. Here, a brief recapitulation follows. PEM affects 60 to 70% children of low-income group in our country. Recent National Family Health Survey, NFH's 2015 to 2016 data reveal that about 70% children below 3 years of age are anemic and vitamin A deficiency is also rampant. Night blindness, Bitot spots and nutritional blindness figures are still of public health concern. Two major causes of severe PEM are diluted milk formulae and infections, especially diarrhea in poor communities living under unsanitary conditions. Severe PEM needs hospital intervention. The treatment is also rehydration with ORS. When diarrhea subsides, feeding at the rate of 3 to 4 g protein kg BW and 170 to 200 kcal kg BW is initiated. Most hospitals use milk-based formulae. Dry skimmed milk, DSM, powder is better tolerated, but due to low energy content, the targets are difficult to meet. A formula containing 90 g dried skimmed milk, DSM, plus 70 g sugar plus 50 g vegetable oil in 1 liter water provides 100 kcal and 3 g protein 100 ml. The children are given 100 to 150 milliliters per kilogram BW, and the amount depends on how well it is tolerated. Sugar and oil amounts are increased if more energy density is needed. Milk tolerance is indicated by watery diarrhea, in which case it should be substituted with cereal. Older children, however, accept solid foods. Oil is added to the mixed cereal-based diets to increase energy density in preschoolers suffering from PEM. Vitamin and mineral supplements are strongly recommended as PEM is always associated with multivitamin and mineral deficiency. Anemia in preschoolers is present primarily due to poor iron content of diets, infections, and worm infestations. Milk is a poor source of iron. Preschoolers who are poor on diet and primarily consume milk and cereals do not meet their iron needs. Green leafy vegetables, whole pulses, especially Indian Bengal gram and soya bean are rich sources. Nuts, dates, organ meat may be included as rich sources. Iron supplements are recommended. As for vitamin A deficiency, requirement of vitamin A is the most easy to meet as it is abundantly present in green and yellow vegetables and fruits, whole milk. Children largely like vitamin A-rich foods, but ignorance of mother and caregivers or lack of adequate supervision can cause its deficiency. 1 teaspoon of red palm oil or small amounts of less than 10 grams of fresh leaves can meet the day's requirement of vitamin A of preschool children. The government has a prophylaxis program, as you may already be aware, which provides 1 teaspoonful of all-miscible vitamin A syrup containing 200,000 IU of vitamin A once every 6 months to children between the age of 9 to 36 months. With this, we end our study on the problems of infants and preschoolers. 14.7 Summary. In this unit, we learnt about the various aspects related to the growth and development of infants and preschoolers. We had a brief insight on their nutritional requirements, starting with energy, the proximate principles, vitamins and minerals. We also got to know about the diet and feeding patterns. Here we got some handy tips about this nutrition as well. We also learnt about the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding and different stages at which different types of foods to be given. In case of preschoolers, we learnt why this stage is crucial from nutritional standpoint. We saw that how parents and caretakers can participate in forming developing the food choices of children. Here also we got to know about handy tips on how to feed preschoolers, keeping in mind their special needs, likes and dislikes and imitation behaviors. Finally, we had a look at the nutrition intervention programs launched by Government of India to meet nutrition and health objectives, particularly for these age groups. We also had a brief discussion on the common nutritional problems that need to be looked into along with their preventive measures. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.